Hey everybody, it's been about a week. It's early on a Sunday morning, and today I'm going to do a few things to this door opening to prep it for the actual door. Now in part one, you saw Lauren out here. I had to leave, and just want to let you know, I didn't make her sit out here for a week guarding the opening in the house. I'm not that crazy, all right? What we did is we brought a futon out here and set that up, which was much nicer than the chair. And she was fine. A little bit chilly on a few nights, but she was fine. So I want to get started on this door. I want to show you what we're going to be doing today. The opening is closed off. I was able to get some plywood on it, all kidding aside. As you can see, I mentioned in the first part one video how this smooth surface, even if I paint it, it's not going to match this. This is what I was talking about. I don't want to see this cut. I don't want to see this smoothness. I want to make it look like this is all was here originally, sort of like the old window area. What I'm going to do today is this section where the window was, I need to fill it in with block. I'm going to continue this block straight up on a plumb line to the brick lintel, and the block lintel, they're steel. So once I get that filled in, I'm going to drill some holes in here to try to remove these half bricks. That way I can continue the brick over until the door to get a nice plumb line. That's the idea. Went ahead and got all the half brick out. Yeah, some of them are chipped. I'm not concerned. I would be if this was not a painted face. I'm going to repaint this entire wall when this project is done. Also, if you look at that, I took a grinder with a diamond tip blade and I kind of reamed out the mortar joints, because what's going to happen is when I parge this to make it look or try to simulate that texture, I also want to bring the joint around and continue that joint, and that'll make it look nice. Down at the bottom, inside floor joist that were padded up from the concrete, I want to put the new concrete threshold a little bit higher than the old subfloor, not much, because I measured and we barely got enough room to tuck this door underneath that brick lintel. I was trying to get as much as a full piece of what they call brick molding at the top. Looks like I'm going to have a ripped piece at the top around this door, full pieces along the side when I put the door in. So we are limited to floor height. And I'm going to go ahead. The wall is wet because I got all the dust, everything out that would cause the mortar not to stick very well, or the concrete threshold not to seal tightly against this brick when I pour it. block laid also have, you probably can't see them, brick ties. That's to tie the brick to the block. When it all dries, it becomes one. Put more than enough in here. That should tie everything together. So I'm going to lay some more brick. So I got this block laid, got some brick ties in, got it laid all the way up. It's plumb this way where I want it. I started the brick and actually started striking the brick joints to match these joints. Now usually I'd probably do this entire brick area before I strike the joints. It does strike better when it's mortar's a little dry. But the way you do this is you're going to hit all the vertical ones first. These are already done. All the vertical ones first, come back. You're going to strike horizontally, and that'll match the existing brick. So when this is painted, it'll look like it's always been here. I'm going to strike that, continue up. When I get up to you probably can't see these brick ties. But when I get up to that point, they lay over the brick. They keep the brick from falling inward. That's basically how that works. The original brick had some sort of wire mesh that I've never seen before. That's why it was so tough to get this hole opened up. I'm going to continue on, try to get all the way up to the top. It's getting late. I'd like to finish this today and move on to the threshold. Waiting for my mortar to slack a little bit too much water. It's a little more soupy than I like. I'm mixing it by hand a little bit at a time since it's just a small patch job. What that means is I let it slack for about 15 minutes, which means let the chemical reaction happen between the cement and the water, let it sit for a little bit, then remix. I usually don't add any more water, just remix. So we're waiting on that. While I'm waiting, I want to show you. There's the brick ties. They're sticking out. When I get up to the point of this one and this one here, that'll tie the brick into the block wall. Also gives you a good idea of how clean I had to get where I'm teething into the old brick. One more thing about mortar. This mortar here is type N. If you're installing a brick veneer, in the building world, that is considered basically the same as siding. It's a veneer, it's not structural. Type N mortar is a non-structural mortar. Now, if I was building a foundation out of block, I might want to bump it up to type S, which is a structural mortar. It's stronger. It's for anything that's going to support weight, that type of thing. But in the building world, there you go. Brick is just a veneer. It's just an exterior finish, just like siding or cultured stone or any stone. It's been a couple days. I haven't been able to work on this. I actually ran out of mortar. And during that time, I figured while the mortar was dried, I'd go ahead and do something that I needed to be done anyway. Those top two bricks, they are glued to that lintel, that brick lintel. They sit right down on, that lintel sits on this brick here. So it wouldn't have a mortar joint. So I have to be able to push that all the way up to the lintel. It would almost be impossible to do that working with wet rows of brick. By the time I get up to this row, I would have to use this row and put shims in to push this brick up. So I figured since I ran out of mortar, it got late when I was doing this. I was tired. I'd go ahead for a couple days and glue this up with a really good construction adhesive. It's made for masonry. It'll stick to metal, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I can fill in with standard laying the brick. I'm going to try to do that today. I don't know how much video I'll get. It's a pretty dreary, rainy day, and I'd like to pour that threshold so I can get the door set. All right, I'm back. I could not show you too much of laying this last bit of brick. It is raining. I've been fighting the rain all day. Didn't want to set the camera up, but I'll show you kind of a finished product. Remember those holes I drilled and all the cuts I made in the brick when I was going to undo the brick, teeth it out in the part one. I want to show you also. Remember when I said I was going to try to recreate the brick going around and look like it was never cut? Notice the mortar joints. I know it looks rough now, but when this is painted, there's the actual brick that I stripped off the house years ago. So I'm matching the texture. What I'm doing, I'm using I found that a wire brush works well. So I just parged this using a drywall mud pan that I don't use anymore because I don't like the plastic ones, and then excuse me, I'm using a drywall pan and an old rusty drywall knife, because this mortar will scratch it and it'll be useless for drywall. So what I did is I parged the end of the brick, and all I'm doing is I'm going around, I'm taking this brush and I'm recreating the texture that's on here. It's not going to be perfect, of course, but it'll be very close to where it will look pretty darn good once this is painted. Now I'm going to use this striking tool to go back in, and I'm going to strike the parge here at every joint. So what it looks like is a finished brick, like this brick was never cut. And I'll take a brush when it dries and knock it off. So that's the look I'm going for. You would never know this was cut by a saw when it gets painted, and that is my goal. Just about wrapped up the outside. I poured this late last night, very late. It's about gets down to about 38, 40 degrees last night, so it's not even close to being dry. But I can go ahead and set the door anyway. A couple things I want to show you on this door. This door was already painted with exterior paint, just the frame. Not that that's going to be the final finish, but what I like to do is this here. If you're going with a wood door jamb, this stuff tends to wick up a lot of moisture from concrete or anything. Even though I'm going to put a bed of caulking underneath this door, it tends to wick up moisture, and then what happens is, just in a few short years, these things rot out. And I want to show you on this. This is a Masonite brand door. I don't know if you can see that label. What they do is they piece in a small piece of composite at the bottom. It goes all the way across on both sides, and it's almost impossible for this to rot out. So they stop the wood here. You can kind of see that little joint. I don't know if you can or not. Yes, you can. And they put composite. So this door, that is the main rot areas for these doors. Brick molding, I did paint it, but it's going to be wrapped in aluminum trim to match the house. I just like to get rid of all the primer, raw wood that may eventually rot out. I want this thing to last. I'm going to go inside and show you some things. inside view. So remember, I got a bunch of lines on here. When this door is framed out, this is going to be kind of a hallway between two walls. I got wall A and, I don't know if you can see it, wall B. And then you're going to have some casing around the door. So this is going to be two walls that come out. It's going to be kind of a hallway. I'm going to be adding this padded piece of wood to the wall. It's a 2x6. Mark the wall marks on the floor so I don't lose them. What's going to happen is this is going to go up and kind of work like that. And what this does is gives me something secure to the wall. This wall is getting out, padded out anyway, 3.5 inches insulation. It gives me something to screw the new door to, something solid. So I have to fasten this to the block all the way up to the ceiling. Then I'll have another one going across the top where I can screw up to that piece of wood. A lot easier to screw to wood than it is to concrete. I may even shoot a couple concrete screws into the top in case this door is ever slammed, it doesn't come loose or bust out. It will be secure. So I'm going to glue that to the block. Glue doesn't help much since this block is painted, but it'll grab a little bit. What I'm going to do, just to get it up there for now, these are 22 caliber shots. And what these little shells do is in this little Ramset gun that you hit with a hammer, shoots the shell into the nail. These are 3-inch nails. The nail shoots in to the block wall, secures it, glue dries, the nails hold. If I need to, I could put some concrete screws in if I feel this block isn't holding well. But the idea is to put these wood blocks in so I can get the door installed. See you in a bit. So I got a couple of these shots in. First one I shot in did not go in very far. That was the green color load, and that's about a mid-range gunpowder fill on these 22 caliber shells. Then I went up to the yellow, a step above. This is setting the nail pretty far in. I don't want to go to a 5 because I've seen this stuff shoot right through the block and outside. So the yellow should be good enough. I like to put the nail in first before just to get my hands out of the way. Put the shell inside there. These also have trigger guns. A little more expensive if you use them a lot. I don't use these things a ton. This works well for me. I put another nail right about here. Let's set it far in there. So I got, it looks like a gold post done. Cross member, that is also glued. I have not shot any nails up through here. I got these two side pieces well secured. Have the threshold, the new concrete threshold cleaned. The rough opening will work. I've quickly checked the door by putting it in there to make sure it was going to fit, so I dry fitted it. It's kind of good to do because what I'm going to do next when I set this door is I'm going to seal all along here with a good caulking. Well, I don't want to say good caulking. I'm going to say a whatever I got in the shop. This is a good opportunity to use some half containers that are starting to dry up. The idea is to get this sealed so nothing can come in under this sill. I don't like using construction adhesive If I ever had to take this door out, you might as well forget about saving the sill. And I'm going to use a finish nailer to just get it generally set into place. The idea, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they set a door is they put the door in, they sit it on the floor, then they use a level to plumb the hinge side of the door. Then they get the other side done. All this while trying to hold the door while it's on its hinges. I've already taken the door off the frame. I'm trusting the door is square. It was manufactured square. It's probably one of the few things on a door that will never need adjustment. So I'm trusting the door is square. So as long as I get the frame level and square, the door should fit well. The biggest mistake I see made is, yes, you could sit it on the floor to start, but then you want to take a level, a small 2-foot level, and you want to start by making sure the head jamb is level. The reason for that, if your floor is slightly out, if you have a piece of debris, anything, it'll throw that head jamb off. And from that point, you will never have a nice even gap across the top of the door. I see it all the time. 1/8 inch gap on one side, 3/8 gap on another side. The door doesn't fit very well, but the jambs are plumb. So keep that in mind. Level the top first, move to the hinge side and plumb, then just put maybe one nail into your jamb side so you can adjust it and shim later. I'm telling you all this because I'm not going to be able to hold the camera while I'm setting this door. I want to show you what I did here. I got a bed of caulking laid down. This was one full tube. And what I did, if you notice, this is the area that's going to be facing inside. So I wanted to get a nice strip of caulk underneath this area here. Then we have kind of a void, and then we have a band that sticks out here. The main thing I want you to notice is on the corners, lots of caulking. Where these jambs sit down, I want a nice seal, no water problems in the future. I'm going to go ahead and sit this in the opening and start to get this thing plumb, level, everything. Made this block, it's roughly a 1/2 inch, actually about maybe 9/16. That's for the drywall. This gets drywall directly on it. These walls get padded out for insulation, but this particular wall will just get drywall over top of this. I got the door level. Most important thing to start, level. Then I moved to the hinge side jamb. Checked it. It's close, not exact. double check the strike side jamb. Close enough for now. So it's barely sitting in there with trim nails. Now I want to use a couple blocks that I've cut, a couple scrap blocks. Mainly want to shim the hinge side. Get that secure and straight since it's plumb and square to the top piece. I want to get that nice and tight. I'm not too concerned, maybe one screw in the jamb side because that's where my adjustment is going to be. Also, although it's important to have your drywall depth here, 1/2 inch or so, it's also important to get the jambs slightly, or not even slightly, get the jambs fairly plumb back and forth this way. If there's an issue with that, you can adjust it. You can move the frame out a little bit more at the top. The main thing is you don't want to have a door that closes by itself. You don't want to have a door that touches at the top, big gap at the bottom. So this thing has to be plumb all different directions. I'm going to go ahead and shim this, get it tight, put the hinges on. Then I'm going to go back to the shop, grab the door, which I had been painting for the last few days, fit it, and do a final screwing into the jambs, get this thing secure. When I had this door in the shop, painting it, prepping it, always good to take the weather stripping off. You don't tear it. Even when you install it, these pull right out. They go right in the slots. So this first one at the top pushes right in the slot. Next one, you're going to put more flat surface towards the jamb. Got the weather stripping in. You might ask, well, why are you putting it in now? You could still rip it. In order to get these doors nice and perfectly honed in to where they're where you want them, final, done deal, you need a weather stripping. It's going to push back. It'll give you an idea if the door is closing plumb. So the weather stripping has to go on now. Next step, hinges. Put these hinges back, and they come with small screws, and they come with a larger screw. This larger screw doesn't go in really until you're ready to shim the hinges. You drive this screw through the hinge, into the jamb, into the frame. That door is not going anywhere. So this door is secure right now. I want to show you. Shim near the top hinge. Have shims near the center. Shims near the bottom. When this thing is shut, gap looks pretty good. That can be adjusted. I'll fix the weather stripping up there. Down at the bottom gets these little pads. They're little Schwaggle pads. They help with keeping the water from wicking up onto the frame. Also, any daylight, you see a little bit there, it seals that. So that'll be taken care of. I do have to put some screw plugs in that comes with the doors. And I'm gonna insulate to keep the air out. Let me squeeze by here without damaging the door against the garage door. I'll show you. So the top, I had to trim the brick molding to get it to fit under the brick lintel. That's just life. I'm going to wrap these in aluminum anyway. The center of the door leaves a gap at the brick, so I can clad this with aluminum and tuck it behind, seal it with caulking, it'll be done. Same thing with this side. put insulation in here. This is not a heated garage currently, but I don't want to keep all the little critters out and I don't need air blowing through this. So you can use regular fiberglass insulation. You can use spray foam insulation, but if you use spray foam insulation, use the window and door type, because it doesn't expand as much as the other. I was able to get kind of a final product. I did put one coat of paint on. This is the exact paint as this, but this is 6 to 8 years old. That's brand new. Same brand, same mix, same formula. But it's getting cold. I'm gonna wait until the spring to paint this entire wall. Got to replace that window anyway. That's a 63-year-old window. That goes, I think the next project we may be doing is a little bit of a stoop here. It's going to be a treated stoop, some decking, maybe some white rail on both sides, step down to the pavers. Anyway, that's how it turned out. That's the brick. Kind of looks like it's always been there. Doesn't look like a cut brick. Other side, I still have to paint the door. Got a temporary deadbolt in it. I don't want to put anything nice in yet. I'll be doing drywall on the inside. So that's it. Aluminum clad. I'll wait to paint the door until we're done construction inside. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's it. Side door, exterior door installation in a very old house with a very solid wall. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.